You see, the first half of the age of oil saw the rapid expansion of industry, transport, trade, agriculture, which all of those things allowed the population to expand sixfold. So you have this enormous and brief chapter in history of this rapid expansion. And included in that thing is financial capital. And this is something that's very hard to understand, but apparently the banks lent more than they had on deposit. And at first sight you say that can't be possible, but it turned out that it was. And it was because the banks had confidence that the resulting expansion of all of this investment and debt and loans and everything was sufficient collateral for today's debt. So expansion tomorrow covered the debt of today. But unseen by anybody or unrecognized was that this expansion was not just money, it was the good old cheap energy to make the wheels turn and do everything. So we now face a situation, I think quite soon, when, and this is happening, the bankers begin to wake up and say, well, this expansion isn't going to go on anymore without the cheap energy to make it happen. That means that the massive amount of debt throughout the world is losing its collateral. It's getting thin cover. So I think the crisis that might emerge, and the physical decline of oil is only 2 or 3% a year. This is not a cliff or a catastrophe. It's quite a gentle thing. But the perception that arises on passing peak, this long decline, this could come instantaneously to the bankers, who suddenly wake up and say, my God, we've got bad debt on our hands. Furthermore, you look at every single company quoted on the stock market. The accounts of all of these companies everywhere have a tacit business as usual assumption about continuing cheap, easy oil such as they've known in their business. So once you realize that this cheap, abundant, easy oil isn't there, that tells you really that virtually every company quoted on the stock market is now overvalued. There has to be some radical readjustment. And capital really has to be reduced in some way to match the declining energy supply on which it eventually depends. So this is the kind of crisis that's staring us in the face. And serious as it is, it's extraordinarily difficult for anyone to do much about it because you can't change the banking structure of the world overnight. What can they do? And talking to these bankers, I find that they don't really care too much. There's bundles of money flow into them every day, and their main concern is to be competitive with each other. They don't want to be out of line with each other, and it doesn't matter to them if the whole thing goes down so long as they're in the crowd. And so I think the bankers are aware of this now, and they don't exactly know how to react, but their main interest is not being isolated from the crowd, so to speak. So we face this monumental kind of weakness of the entire banking financial sector, and really there isn't much easy solution to it.